Welcome, this is Chris Stein, CEO of Flex Rental Solutions. Today we're going to be going over the continuing development of Flex5 Desktop and show you all the great new features and functionalities that are coming into focus right now. A little bit about our progress and where we've come from and where we're going to. Flex4 started out as a web-based product started in 2010, and our goal was to move the traditional rental and inventory management software from a classic server to desktop environment on an installed software to a web-based platform. And we put together a great product. One of the things that we concentrate a lot on is being able to put together a package that makes it very easy for customers to plan and execute complex events and multitask throughout all the different requirements that they have throughout the day. And we've done a really great job. We've been in the process of updating and migrating that application to a more modern platform, which has been come to known as Flex5. We started earlier on with a Flex mobile application running for mobile products such as phones and tablets. And then we are continuing that into the desktop environment. One of the main things that you always have to consider when you are transitioning from an old product to a new product is, what does that do to the people using it? Is it a brand new product? Do you have to export out of the old into the new? What we want to make sure is that this process was not burdensome to our users. And to do that, what we've done is we're still using the same MySQL database, but we've added a whole new backend, a whole new API functionality to communicate with the front end that is now communicating to both the mobile platforms and now desktop and laptops on the web platform. So what this means is that when you log into Flex5, either on your mobile app or your desktop or laptop, you have access to the same backend database, meaning all the quotes that you've created in the past still exist. All the inventory that you've had, all the configurations you've made, those settings are all part of the same MySQL database that you have. And so there is no new information there that has to be imported. It is all existing because it comes from the same source. So for our existing customers, there is no worry about transitioning to a brand new platform as far as data. It is just learning the new environment that it is being presented on. So with that, let's head over to our web browser and we will log in to Flex5, and let me put in the right password. So we have access to the same database, which is great. What we also want to do is try to make this experience seem somewhat familiar. We have been told by a lot of our customers that they very much enjoy the layout and the ability to multitask within our system compared to our competitors. And so we want to keep a lot of that same familiar layout so you don't feel completely burdened with learning a whole new environment. But we want to optimize and modernize the whole platform. So in doing so, we've kept a lot of the same layout functionalities. We have on the left-hand side what we call our resource browser. We have in the middle area what we call our Workbench. And if we open up a tab, that will open up and it supports multiple tabs. And if that tabs have menu action items, then you have the Workbench menu on the right-hand side. So we have that same familiar layout that you're used to. Where we've modernized this is we actually allow you to click to expand the resource browser or the Workbench menu and click to retract. We can also drag that line to expand it or collapse it wherever we want. One of the things that we've done to improve this functionality is in the previous Flex4 desktop environment, what we ended up doing is actually saving the pixel size between this area and this area. And when you change computers, if it had different resolutions, you might actually end up losing this part of the screen that you'd have to redrag and resize if you change from, say, a laptop to a desktop environment. What we're actually doing right now is we store the ratios between all three of these areas. So if you go to a smaller display or larger display, it just expands it or collapses it or shrinks it by the same ratios. So we've improved that quite a bit. We've simplified where we show you the menus. So the menus have changed to the top left. And so as an example, if you want to go to your projects, menu items, and go to, say, your quotes, that's how you navigate the menu area. These project lists are really great. We've done a ton to optimize these and improve them. As an example, that shows the speed at which we've improved this whole functionality. We did a demo for a customer a little while ago and showed them their live system that they've been using for probably about 6 to 8 years and the speed at which they can log in, open up their quotes page, search for it, filter it, open it, and get to a quote and browse the whole quote very efficiently. So let's play this video. We logged in, we went to projects, we went to quotes. There's about 5,000 quotes that it showed. We put in a name, we separated it by year, we opened up the quote, we went to the details, we showed all the details, we scrolled all the way to the bottom. So in like 15 seconds, we did that at amazing speed. It's really impressive, the work that the engineers and designers have put into this and the speed that they've gotten it at. There are times when I look at the speed of things, like on that example, I wasn't sure that we could ever have the functionality to be as fast as I thought it could be. I thought it'd be fast. I didn't think it would be this fast. I thought there was just certain web-based, internet restrictions. But with the bandwidth that we've got and the program that they've put in place, I'm ecstatic at the speed of which data is flowing back and forth. Sometimes it's a matter of waiting on the human brain and the fingers and the mouse to react and not the data loading and stuff like that. So I'm extremely happy with that. So back to Flex5 and the demo. So we've changed the menu locations up there. Let's keep on going down the resource browser bar. New functionality that we've got that we've improved is the search area. We've got search functionality. Previously, you could select a certain item and start to search in that area. We have similar functionality, but we've improved it slightly. So let's say we need to look for a manifest or a pull sheet. We can select multiple items and then put in the filter requirements for those pull sheets or manifests. Or as we're scrolling, you could say, you know what, I just need to look for inventory only and do a search for, sure, and double click that item. And again, you get the multiple tabs opening there. So the search functionality has improved, I think, even better than it was in 4. And the speed at which those results are coming back are awesome. Continuing down the resource browser bar, we've got our contacts here next. If you've configured or changed any resource types or added additional contact resource types, there is no new configurations. It is reading all the same functionality out of Flex5. So any things that you've changed or new resource types that you've added will all come into Flex5 without any setting or rechecking or anything like that. We can browse our clients as in the past. We can open up a specific contact. We can get the generic information here. We've got phone information here, address information, and internet information. So as an example, one of the cool things that I love is the ability to actually call through whatever is your default communication platform on Flex. So if I hit call on this office phone, it's going to then, this system can use FaceTime to actually call them with a simple click from inside the Flex platform. If we hit address, we can map that out and it'll open up whatever your default mapping application is. If we need to email someone, we click on email and it'll launch our default email browser and things like that. So some really great functionality to get to information and then communicate with them built right in. We can also modify information here. We can have it belong to multiple resource types. Let's say these people are now a client and a vendor, and we'll hit OK, and that'll update all that information for us. Inventory, same thing. If your inventory is configured a very specific way, as all customers do, it retains that exact same view functionality, browse functionality that you're used to in the past. So we can have root folders. Those folders can have subfolders. Those subfolders can go as deep as you'd like. They can have as many inventory items as you want. All your icons come forth. And so very specific functionality that you're used to is just new and improved in the Flex5 Desktop. Inventory is very, very, very similar. I can open up an inventory model. Again, multiple tabs are open. We can change images. We've got generic information here. We can modify our model information and update it. We can, we've got our different tabs here, our quantity view. If it's serialized, we've got all of our serial information here. We've changed some of the menu layouts recently, and I really like what our developers have come up with. Up here are the menu items for the model, and then whatever tab you're on, if that tab has specific functionality, then the menu for that tab appears at the bottom. So let's say under serial units, I need to add a new serial number. There's the icon down here. If I want to filter this and say I need to search for something in, Salt Lake, there's all my Salt Lake items. And so all the menu actions for the tabs appear at the bottom. All the menu items for the model appear up there. If we have a serial unit, we can open that item up, and same functionality. We can edit the serial unit information here, and if that item has tabs, then each tab has its own menu action items down below. So if we need to make a maintenance log, you would find the ability to add that in the maintenance log menu actions down here. So it's been a really great redesign, and I think the thing that I'm most impressed at is it's a very consistent look and feel, better than we've ever had in our Flex 4 product, and we've been able to concentrate on that as we've rebuilt it. Other functionality that you've got in here, we've added the schedule view where we can look at the availability of this item over a schedule. If we need to create a new model, over here under inventory, we can create a new inventory item and start from scratch here. Other things that we put in place is the ability to look at services. If you've created your own services, if you've reorganized them, again, it takes that same configuration out of Flex 4 and puts that into Flex 5. So we've got different labor, services, show expenses, anything that you've added in there already appears. Down below, we've got our recent history. The great thing that is working here is our programmers have put a lot of time into making sure that This system is working in tandem with Flex 4. So if I open anything up in Flex 5, if I go to Flex 4, because there's certain functionality that might still be missing out of Flex 5, that same recent history is populated in both Flex 4 and 5. So anything here that we've worked on, we can open it up and we've got lots of tabs. Down below, we've added a couple new areas. This is what's new. This will show you all the new functionality that we've added since the last time we've updated. So I'm working on the release from April 10th. It is on the 14th. The update prior to that was April 2nd. Prior to that, March 18th. And so what you'll see is we have an incredible cadence going on. Every 2 weeks, we have new releases being built. You will see that we have been concentrating a lot on features and fixes and polishing. We want to make this the most robust system we've ever put together. So you can see a ton of work that we've been doing is we've been in our final QA testing to get us out of alpha stage into beta. And you can see the majority of stuff here is fixes to make sure it is robust and ready for you to log in and be free of errors or anything like that. So that is our release, what's new. And as you log in, if there's a new release, this will actually highlight around that icon in red to notify you that you've got a new release and to take a look at the new functionality that exists that wasn't there prior. You've also got your icon where you can log out and away you go. So on the Workbench, we still have the ability, like we said earlier, to be able to multitask and have all your different tabs open, as many as you'd like. We can right click on a specific tab. We can close that tab. We can close anything to the left or the right. We can close all tabs, including itself, or reload that. So as an example, if I right click this and just hit close other tabs, it leaves everything open but that. When you log in, any calendars that you have created are in what we call the home page. Right now, we've just put the list view in place. If you've got multiple calendars, they will all appear as they are in Flex 4, and you can select those. And so just different functionality depending upon how you've configured those unique calendars. Again, no configuration necessary. It will read the same configuration file and away it goes. We can double click those and open them up just like in Flex 4. Any columns with data that you've added from Flex 4 in the calendar areas, again, nothing new to read or configure. It will take that data as it exists in 4 and reinterpret it in Flex 5. So we've looked at a couple navigations and walking through different resources and calendars. Let's take a look at some of the financial documents. We've spent a large amount of our time in this area. This is really the most complex feature-rich functionality that exists in Flex. And so we've been spending a ton of time in there. When you open up a financial document such as a quote, one of the first things that you'll see that's new that I absolutely love is we've got this kind of breadcrumb or here's what you're looking at header information. So it has the element type, the element name, the element number, and the status. And one of the things that I love about this is a lot of times when you're working inside a large filled in event, sometimes you're going to see a lot of the same names up on top and you're bouncing back and forth between the quote and the pull sheet, and they all have their same name. And it's really hard to figure out, what am I looking at? Am I looking at the pull sheet? Am I looking at the manifest? Problems like that. So let me open up a specific job and I'll show you what I mean by this. So this element, I'm going to open up the quote. I'm going to open up the invoice. I'm going to open up the pull sheet. I'm going to open up the manifest. And what you'll see is they all say test Dallas pop-up, test Dallas pop-up. But what you'll notice is this header changes, and it becomes very comforting to say, oh, yep, I'm looking at the invoice. I'm not looking at the quote. Or, yes, I'm looking at the pull sheet or the manifest. So again, element name, the specific name of it, and the status. So it's just a really great improvement upon navigating and verifying what exactly you're working on. So back into this quote as an example. Other things that we've added is some notifications on if the system is locked or if it's closed. I'm going to open up another job here. Before, if something was locked or closed, it was very hard to navigate it. We kind of locked the whole thing up, and that included being able to really browse it. You had to basically push some up or down buttons or print it out to really look at it. In this functionality, we basically just give you a notifier on top, but you can still browse the whole thing, click around, things like that. And then we can also change, if we try to change something, it won't let you change it. So it's really great in how it's showing you everything that you're looking at, but giving you a notification of what you're doing is locked or closed, but you can still browse it very easily. I'm going to go and start a whole new quote. We still have the functionality to very quickly hit the plus button and get into a quote. And we can give this test Flex5 Demo. And I can fill in some ship dates. If you've got things that are required, it'll force you to fill it in. Under the client, I can start to type in, say, Chris. It'll fill in all that information. If I type in Flex, it'll show me all the different Flex people. I can also do a search here and do a more robust search. And has that same functionality. So however you've got your system configured, it will have the appropriate fields as you have it in 4. But let's get started. So here's our new test Flex5 demo. We've got the header information right there that this is a quote. That's the name, that's the number, that's the status. Really easy to view that no matter what's going on. I love it. Okay, header information. We still have all of our different views on top. If you've modified an existing view or added your own views, again, those will be in Flex5 without any new configurations. So we've got different views that we can see right here. And we'll go over the status changes and events later. What you'll notice is when we open up a quote, right now we are showing you just the header information. If I want to see the details, then I'll click down in here. If I need to go back to the header information, I can return. If I want to relaunch the edit header pop-up, I can hit modify and hit edit pop-up right there, and you can edit it as appropriate. So one of the reasons why we changed this configuration is we were not being the most efficient in how we were querying the data and returning the data. In a quote in Flex 4, when we would open up a quote, what it would do is it would go back to the database and pull all the data fields, transmit that back to your desktop or laptop, and then it would throw away what it didn't need at the present time and then display it. And on big, large quotes, it would take a long time to send all that data back to the user interface just to not use half of it. we've been very efficient in how we are querying our data. So in this example, when we open up this quote, all we are doing is going and grabbing whatever header information fields are visible. If there's different header information in the logistics view or change view or warehouse view, we aren't grabbing that data. We are only requesting what we can see in display. So being as efficient with the data as possible. Then when we want to look at the detail of the quote, that's when we go and query the detail information. Again, there's lots of columns that are back in the database. So we've got columns regarding subrental quantity or subrental vendor or cost each, cost extended, or profit or markup, or who changed the item last, when was it changed, who created it. Those are all different database fields. But when we open up the quote and go to the details and we're looking at the working view, these are the only fields that we query. So again, we are trying to be as efficient as possible with all the data. How that affects the end user is we have gotten tons of great responses from our customers in how snappy and efficient the user interface is, because we are being extremely tight and stingy with what we query and how we query it, and everything we can do to get 1 more second or 5 more seconds or 10 more seconds. We've put a lot of time and effort into that. As an example, to give you a little overview of if we've changed something in 4, how does that affect 5? Or 5, how does that affect 4? I'm going to go and add a new company here. And let's do a search for, say, Dave. And if we add that company there, it wasn't in the database. I'm going to open in Flex4 to show you that it is literally reading the same database. So we're going to log into Flex4. And what you'll see is we've now updated that information. I'm going to change this to $100 each. So it's updated that price. Let's go back to 5 and let's go to the details, and you'll see, let's refresh that data. And you'll see the data is already there. So that's the functionality that we put in place between communication, is the data is one source. And so if you've got a user who is still using Flex4 and you're testing Flex5 and you're working on the same quote, you are seeing the same data. And it's just like 4, if 2 people had the same quote open, the last person to write to the database field wins. So that's how that works. Any of these header fields that we've had, we still have the same functionality. If I go in here and change contacts, and maybe I want that to be Dave Williams, I can drag that over if I want. I can also hand type in here and add whatever information that I want. So very great functionality in there. Any of these header fields, I can do a search for Brandon and change that to Brandon. I can change warehouses. If you have multiple warehouses, I can change sales tax rules. I can change discounts. All these fields work as you would expect them. Well, let's look at the detail block, because that's where most people are going to be working in. On the top, you've got a search functionality. You've got whether you want to show availability or not. We'll go over these, adding miscellaneous line items, blank, stuff like that. And then the drop mode. Drop mode is the ability for us to really be able to configure how we want the detail to be presented to our clients. Auto sort is the most common functionality. What that does is that takes the layout of how we've organized these items and it sorts it by root folder. And so if I say I need 2 of these, it's going to create a subtotal for me based off the root folder audio, includes all my contents, and puts that pricing information in there. If I go down to something at a computer and put in a laptop as an example, it's going to create a new subtotal for me based on the computer subtotal. If I go into video and go into projection screens and say screen packages, it knows that this item goes in between the audio and computers and places it in there appropriately. So this gives us a very consistent look and feel. So when you've got multiple account managers, maybe quoting different jobs to the same client, AutoSort gives you that exact same consistent look and feel, and the client can see where all my speakers are, where my video areas are. So it's a really great mode for that. Other things that you've got is you've got a search functionality. If I want to do a search for Mac, so it found 3 examples, and those are the 3 Mac items that I found. The other thing that we put is some shortcuts. On Apple products, if you hit the command button F, it automatically interprets that and puts that right in the search field. So it's got a great little shortcut, Command F or Control F in Windows products. When you're on the detail, it'll automatically put you in the search area and you can start to type. Other shortcuts that are pretty cool is in Mac, Command minus and Command plus changes the resolution or the view ratio. So it's controlling the web browser. So I'm changing this to 80% view. And as you can see, that just adjusts all my scaling. So that's another shortcut that I really have come to like. When you saw me drop in that Mackie item, it launched my suggestions, and I'll relaunch those now through that area to the left. And the functionality of suggestions, again, our customers have told us we have the best suggestion functionality where you can really recreate a person's brain and dictate, what do I want to remind the person using it that they may want to think about when they drag this item in? We can have suggestion types. Those suggestions can have other suggestions. It's incredibly robust, and we've taken that same functionality that exists inside Flex 4 and improved it and modernized it and optimized it and brought that into Flex 5. So we still continue to have that. We have the functionality relating to parent-child relationships. If I change this quote for the Mackie speakers to 4, it should update my quantities appropriately. So now we've got 2 cases, 4 power cables, 4 XLRs. If I change this back to 2, it changes that appropriately. So we keep that same functionality and ratios between parent-child. Other areas that we have in this drop mode is insert. In insert mode and add mode, you'll see these icons now become more solid. So in insert mode, I can grab a note and drag a note and put it wherever I want. So we can put notes wherever we want. We can put miscellaneous items wherever we want. And so as an example, I can put this as just a discount and put, say, negative $200 if I want, and change functionality like that. Or we can just drag a blank line item and put it wherever we want. Add mode does the exact same thing, but it just puts it at the very bottom, similar to if we were adding an item through drag and drop left-hand sidewise. You can get the same functionality with adding notes, miscellaneous, or blank line items from an existing line item. We still have the functionality where we can update and create notes per line. We can change quantities. We can change pricing. If they're modifiable, it'll allow us to change them. We still have the functionality with what we call warehouse muting, note muting, price muting, line muting, or total muting. As an example, warehouse muting, if this was a confirmed quote, but I did not want them to actually take this screen, maybe it was coming from another room, I can warehouse mute this whole screen package and it takes it out of availability and it won't show up on the pull sheet when we generate the pull sheet. Note mute, if I put in this note and I want to hide that from the printout, it will not print that note out. It'll only show up on the pull sheet as an example and not to the PDF to the client. Price mute allows us to calculate a price but not show it. A lot of people will use this and click the header as an example, and now we will not show any line item pricing in the PDF to the financial document. LM is line mute. A lot of people use line muting. In this example, this screen package, all the contents that go with it are line muted, so the client will only see the package in the price package, but they won't see all the detail that will then be pushed onto the pull sheet. TM is another area that we can actually show a price but not calculate it. As an example, I'm going to change this subtotal and say, let's call it optional entryway audio. And maybe we want to charge the client for, hey, before we open up the room, you may want to put some speakers outside. Here's what it'll take to do that area. And so we're charging $100. Our total is $943. But if I total mute that, it's going to adjust the price appropriately. A lot of people will use some notes and write something along the lines of items inside this subtotal are for quoting purposes only. If you'd like to confirm it, please contact your account manager. As an example, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I made a pre-configured note. Oh, that's not the right note, but I can just drag that note in there that I might want to reuse to do that, stuff like that. And I may want to warehouse mute that. Hey, this doesn't go to the client unless they confirm it. So some great functionality that we've had that continues to be used in Flex. One other new feature that we put in very recently is the ability to click on the header to auto collapse or auto expand all subtotals. That's a feature that our customers have come to love, and we've added that into Flex5. We do have the ability that we've implemented with security views. You can create settings whether specific views are what we call sensitive. And if a user has settings that says they cannot see sensitive financial views, most likely you're using that for, say, your warehouse personnel. By default, if they logged in to look at a quote, they would not see the working view or the profit markup. They would only see logistics view, change view, and warehouse view. And we've got that functionality built into Flex5 also. You've seen me play with some of the totals area. We've implemented a couple cool things here. What's happening here is this is calculated. We can mouse over to see a preview of the total, but you can also look at the totals to update your notes for the whole job, and we can look at the totals and modify specific settings in here if you want to. And the reason we put the total down here instead of up on the top right is oftentimes we may be having this area collapsed and we didn't want you to not to be able to see the total. So no matter where you are, you will always see the total, and it's on the bottom right of this tab in the Workbench. Other functionalities that our developers have put in place is our new send to client functionality, and it works very, very similar to the way it has in the past. If you're got a contact in there that's got an email, whether you've got auto included, does it automatically go to the client or not, things like that. All that stuff is all put into Flex. We can carbon copy to specific people. We can blind copy specific people. If you've got templates already filled in with what you want already pre-configured in the message, great. One of the new features that they actually threw in that I am starting to like more and more is the ability to send other views from the send to client, meaning I can override that it just doesn't send the default working view. So that's new functionality. And so as an example, I'm going to send this to there we go. Got to move it up there. There we go. And so now it's going to send that information out to the client. And let's say I'm going to go over to this area and go to workflow, and we're going to confirm and create a pull sheet as an example. And more information. And I don't want to send that to Brandon for now. So it's going to process that. So things that you'll notice is status changes are showing when they change from, say, inquiry to confirmed. Event history will have what emails have been sent to whom. And notes, if we add any notes, this client has a specific note that automatically appears whenever we create a quote for them. And so we've got that note information in there also. You've seen me kind of play around with different areas in the Workbench. Let me give you a quick review of that. One of the areas that I love is how they've changed the project page and the project element view. I'm going to go to my recent history and let's go to this test ballot, Dallas pop-up. One of the things that was really hard in Flex 4 was to kind of give you context of what you're looking at and how it relates to where it is in the project. In the past, it would only show you the top two tiers of the project, and it wouldn't show you what area you're in. So in this example, you'll see it's showing you everything in the project. You don't have to expand to see down 3 tiers or more. It just automatically shows you everything. Also, it'll highlight where you're at. If I want to go to this pull sheet, it's highlighting the pull sheet. If I'm on the invoice, we're highlighting the invoice. So when you get into these extremely large projects, I love how it's giving you very actionable data. If I need to go to something associated with this invoice, I know where the context of where I am within this large project. Modify, these same features work very, very similar. We can go back to Flex 4 as a quick link. We can relaunch the header. We can use this to copy selected lines, paste selected lines, or delete selected lines. That functionality all exists very, very similar. We've got move functionality working and delete functionality. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say I started this test Flex5 demo, and now I want to say, you know what? I need to create an event folder for this. And let's put some dates in here. And I'll just start that really quick. If I go back to this job and let's say let's move it, I'm going to do a search for, say, test Flex 5. One of the new things that we've added that I really love is in the past we showed everything that could match it. And it would also show all the child elements even if it didn't have the exact same name. And one of the things that I really love is this new checkbox that says, just show me the roots only. If there's 5 quotes underneath that, I don't need that. I want to put it inside the event folder. That's typically the root. And so we'll check that. And so now if we look at this element, we've got that event folder. There's the quote. There's the pull sheet. We're able to move this inside of an event folder very quickly. So move functionality is already working as it exists. And delete works as expected. You have to do a confirmation on that. So if I open up this quote and let's go to say delete quote, you have to agree before you delete it. What you'll see that I really also enjoy the improvement on is we've broken these up into headers, and every functionality in there is much more actionable. Before, this list got really long and you had to do a lot of scrolling. Now you're basically saying, what reports do I want to run? And it shows you all your reports options. So one of the new things that we've also added is we've recently added the naming functionality. Before it was just report.pdf. Now it has the same report naming functionality as in Flex4. So any reports that you've configured, any custom reports in there, if they have parameters that they ask for stuff, we've added all that functionality into Flex5 and it works great. Workflows are very similar into Flex4. And so if we need to update things or a flag is ready to invoice, works very similar and continues to work as expected. One of the new things we have added very recently is the ability to add child elements. So if I'm on an event folder and I need to add another quote to this, and so I'm going to add this information. So now you'll see we've got the event that I added a child to, and we added a second quote. And again, we know that this quote is in context to the second quote there. So the ability to add child elements exists in Flex5 now also. We have a refresh button that we can just press there to refresh all of our functionality. We've shown you status changes, event history, and notes. Let's take a look at the pull sheets. This is still in QA. So it is still waiting to pass QA before it's passed on to you, but functionality is already programmed, just needs to go through quality assurance and testing. We've got header information and notes. Again, we separated in the header and the details and the notes. We can still drag and drop and move things around and build a pull sheet as it exists, and it's really great. Again, I love having the ability to see exactly what I'm working on in the header, especially here if we've got the header missing here that might have some information. Even on the detail page, we know exactly what we're working on. So this was actually a client request at a user conference that we did recently, and we were able to add it within that month. Functionality that we are currently working on is the ability to say, go to the prep screen and start scanning. That is being developed as we speak. Under warehousing, we have already started the process of free scan in, free scan out, inquiry scan, and content builder. Those are already in place and starting to work. And so the prep functionality is being added as we speak. So where does this leave us? This has been a massive project, and we have spent a lot of time putting together this process for our customers. We currently have about 300 customers that are actively alpha testing it, giving us feedback, testing everything out. And our goal is to be out of alpha at the end, by the end of April 2020, which is in about 2 to 3 weeks. And we are very confident that we will reach that milestone. We will then enter what we call the beta phase of we are confident in all of our math, all the calculations, all the availability, that all the data in 4 is the same in 5, and it's getting all calculated the exact same way. This is the functionality that we are finishing on what we call beta. We are currently showed you a bunch of the stuff that's actually in QA right now. Send decline is working. We're working on copy the whole element and then being able to prep and return those scans. This is the functionality that in the beta features still left to do, that by the time we finish that up, we will consider ourselves out of the beta phase. We hope to get out of the beta phase by the end of August this year. And then we are working on some final functionality here of the last kind of features that we prioritize, that by the time we finish this in October, what we're actually going to do is switch the primary login. So our goal is in October to have the primary login for all users to be switched from Flex 4 to Flex 5. In the July 2020 period, once we exit this beta milestone, we will have Flex 5 turned on for all customers. All customers will have access to Flex 5, and it will be a specific separate login that you can bounce back and forth. But in the October timeframe is when we hope to, by the end of October, have everyone logging into Flex5 Desktop on a daily basis. We will be continuing to add some specific power user functionality and system setting functionality. And that is our goal, to get all this information and pages built up by January 2021. There will still be some system configuration settings left over in Flex4 Desktop. We have been talking to specific developers for Firefox. We have been assured that there will be ways for a system admin to still be able to access Flex4 for some last minute configurations that are still going to be moving over in 2021. But 99% of our customers will be logging into Flex5 in October 2020. Of 99% of all users, all customers will have access to it. All users will have access to it. There will be still some lingering config functionality that will be moved over during the 2021 period. We will also be adding lots of great new features and functionalities above the current ones that we have in Flex 4 and in Flex 5. You'll see some great new features, functionalities, integrations. We've got some amazing designs and can't wait to show you that. With that, I want to thank you for your time. I hope everyone stays safe with this COVID virus going around. Know that we are all hands on deck as far as Flex 5. We are more focused than ever. We've got an amazing team backing you up, and we are so excited for you to get back to work and to see all the great stuff coming out with Flex 5, and we can't wait to show you. Give us an email if you've got any specific questions at sales or support@flexrentalsolutions.com. Thanks. Bye-bye.